After a 5-year run that gave us collab albums with some of the biggest hip-hop artists in the world and one of the most memorable feature runs that rap has ever seen, 21 Savage has finally released his third studio album, American Dream, and after years of waiting and speculation, the question everybody is asking is, does this album live up to the hype? Now, if you have paid attention to hip-hop at all over the past few years, you know that 21 Savage has spent every waking moment since his 2018 record, I Am Greater Than I Was, becoming a better MC and finally returning to the solo stage after a run which had him working alongside nearly any artist you can think of. Is this one-of-a-kind era going to end with him creating his magnum opus? While we need to explore this album and what it offers on all fronts to answer this question, what was clear about this record before it even dropped was that working alongside Metro Boomin on Savage Mode 2 and Drake on Her Laws truly taught 21 how to make this album a full-fledged event that nobody can ignore. Rolling out your album by announcing an entire film about your life is one of the most ambitious ways we have seen an artist flesh out the world of a record, and with 21's film of the same name starring Donald Glover and Caleb McLaughlin, we are seeing 21 do something that no other rapper has done to this scale. But back to the actual record. While the rollout for this project sets super high expectations between the movie trailer and the feature announcements, as soon as you press play on this album, it's clear that 21 Savage put just as much thought into making the record itself a one-of-one experience. The self-titled intro track perfectly sets the mood for what's about to come as we hear 21's own mother break down what the American dream truly is as she talks about the choices and hardships she faced in order to give her son a life where he can pursue his dreams. This brief but poignant monologue serves as the perfect prelude as it tells you everything you need to know about 21's upbringing, and riding off the momentum of this, 21 Savage comes firing in full force on this album with the soulful trap cut All Me, which I'm gonna say it, is already one of his best songs without a doubt. If the spoken word intro was the perfect exposition dump of 21's backstory, this track is the perfect introduction to who 21 is in the present and in a deeper sense at heart, as through this absolutely soul-touching instrumental, the Atlanta MC delivers one of his hardest yet most introspective performances ever. It's this dynamic of sincerity and toughness that 21 Savage doesn't just bring, but refines on a lot of tracks throughout this project that makes his performance so compelling, coinciding with the unique flair he brings to the mic. Another area where 21 just absolutely excels on this record is with the beat selection, which feels so catered and specifically crafted to his skill set, and as a result, we get some of 21's most thrilling and intense tracks ever. 21 raps over a handful of soulful trap beats that just accentuate his traits through the dystopian aura that they all seem to channel. The track Red Drum is at the pinnacle of this, as we see how a 1960s Brazilian ballad gets flipped and contorted into this eerie yet tenacious beat, and in this type of atmosphere that just screams for 21's abilities. He ends up delivering a career performance filled with memorable punchlines and his menacing mic presence. Now, when I said that only 21 Savage can rap over these instrumentals, I kinda lied, because the featured MCs on this album all go absolutely insane in their respective performances. Now, while I was skeptical about the Doja Cat collab NHIE, after listening to the cut, I was blown away by just how well she was able to match 21's performance with her animated and jittery feature, which pulled out all of the stops to make a memorable performance over such ominous production. Now, speaking of production on this project, while there are a lot of big name beat makers who help create such a visceral score, most involved with the album, to nobody's surprise, is Metro Boomin, who produces 5 entire tracks on this thing. Now, with all of the 5 songs that Metro and 21 have on this album, they are pretty tonally different from one another, ranging from the pretty standard trap cut of Dangerous with Lil Durk all the way to the smooth R&B ballad of Just Like Me with Burna Boy. While these songs all show us different versions of 21 Savage for better or for worse, the standout of this batch, and really one of the best songs on the entire album, is Nina with Travis Scott, and between the raw yet grandiose production from Metro and the just hardcore cutthroat rapping from Travis, this is an early Song of the Year candidate. This track is truly insane. Now, in a moment like this, 21 Savage works alongside Travis so well as they make arguably their best collab to date. It is that good, but with some of these other collabs, I don't know what was going on. When we look at a track like the Young Thug collab, It feels like a waste of a decent thug feature and an entrancing metro beat due to just how lifeless the hook is from 21 Savage, especially when we get to the punchline of the entire bridge where he says, "It smells like gas, I think somebody pooped," which is seriously one of the worst lines I have heard in a while. Now, this problem hurts different parts of the record throughout, as some of 21's bars here just miss on the worst level possible, and at the end of the day, you obviously don't expect the same level of lyrical precision and chiseled bars from 21 as you would a J. Cole or a JID, but when you say things like "no love handles, but I love the way I handle her," it just takes you out of the entire moment. Now, fortunately, this problem does not affect majority of the tracks on this album, and for every mid-bar 21 has, there are way more good ones. Now, I think one of the most interesting aspects of this album is the way 21 structures the whole thing. In terms of pacing and cohesion, this album feels like a 3-act story with each chunk of the record excelling in different aspects. This is what enables 21 to rap like an absolute villain on the first half of the record and then flow into one of his best rap songs ever with "Letter to My Brother" on the second. Hearing how introspective and emotional 21 gets over quite angelic production, it expands on his artistry in ways that we have not been able to see on other projects and features, and this is one of the aspects that marks this album as such a special moment in his catalog. We are seeing the most seasoned and mature version of 21 Savage that has now been in the rap game for nearly a decade, and you can see just how far he has come since his early days. Now, while I think the beginning and middle acts of this album expand on the scope of 21 Savage's artistry in ways that are pretty great but expected at this point, it's the final leg of tracks that showcase the most surprising progression of 21's artistry, and I think this is where a lot of people will either love or just feel alright with the project as a whole. Now, over an array of instrumentals that are much softer in contrast to the rest of the album, 21 Savage pulls more into this introspective side that he's been developing on this album than we usually see. Now, even over a sped up Chipmunk soul sample and with some gloomy autotune like on the track "See the Real," 21 Savage is still talking about gang life, but through this different type of sonic atmosphere, it allows for him to express ideas from the same string of topics, but in a little bit of a different way. The real standouts in this lane are "Prove It" with Summer Walker, and more significantly, "Should've Wore a Bonnet" with the one and only Brent Faiyaz, which this pair on a track really makes for a peak musical combination. Something about the godsend vocals of Brent Faiyaz and the grim demeanor of 21 uniting through the commonalities of toxic relationships is just fantastic. Now, while these tracks do a commendable job at showing off 21 Savage's versatility and the overall expansion of his artistic scope, it's the final 2 tracks on this record that ultimately highlight just how much 21 Savage has grown. The track "Red Sky" serves as the climax to this entire album through its dramatic bridge, which eventually leads into this cinematic beat drop where 21 Savage pretty much makes a track that, when we look back on his legacy years from now, captures everything that defined the prime of his career just on a way larger scale than we have ever seen before. Hearing 21 just unleash a barrage of lyrical daggers at his doubters over production that makes it feel like his entire world is collapsing makes for one of the most epic songs that I have heard in a while, and this really would have been a fitting closer to the album as a whole, but somehow the track "Dark Days" with Mariah the Scientist does an even better job at giving us a powerful send-off. Now, just as this album began depicting to us the journey that 21 Savage has experienced all in pursuit of a better life, here we see him question if everything that's happened for him to get to this point is even worth it, as he reveals to us how he is haunted by the loss and tragedies that he's experienced. This track really feels like a full circle moment for 21's entire career, as he acknowledges the path and life that has defined him, yet warns others to stay away from it, as he does not want people to be haunted by the demons that he tells us he still cries about when nobody is looking. Now, while 21 Savage is not a rapper that anybody goes to for powerful lyrics or to feel these sort of emotions, seeing such a mature and well-written track in contrast to everything else he has done in the past makes this moment all the more valuable, and in all honesty, I'd go as far to say that this is not just the perfect outro to this album, but it truly completes the story to one of the most important players in hip-hop right now, and I could not have asked for a better way to do so. So overall, walking away from American Dream, I think this is a special album that has propped up 21 Savage's already fantastic resume to new heights. From the sheer stakes and spectacle the feel of this album is able to invoke in listeners through its climactic score and larger-than-life feel to the career-defining performances from 21 Savage. This album feels like the culmination of everything he has been working to since the end of the 2010s. Now, off of these first impressions, I'm gonna give this album an 8 out of 10, and let me know, do you agree with my thoughts? Now, these are just my first impressions, so don't go crazy in the comments if you disagree, but do let me know what you think about this album. Also, be sure to subscribe so you can see how American Dream will stand the test of time. Thank you for watching, your support means everything. Mr. F, Fantastic Hip Hop, signing out, catch you in the next video.